Welcome to Ensemble, the service charge management software from Opus. This demonstration focuses on reviewing the actual transactions against the budget set. This is accessed by hovering over Actuals on the navigation bar and selecting Review Actual Cost Against Budget. The search screen has been developed to be as user-friendly as possible, allowing the data held within the system to be filtered to the user's requirements. You're able to view previous year's data. You can enter a scheme code, full or part scheme name. The regional filter is the hierarchy that is set up during implementation, and we can have any number of levels. In the demo system we have one overall company, one region and 2 areas. The workflow, as we can see, there are 2 in the demo system. This enables the process to be passed through whoever needs to see it. Any number of workflows can be implemented. Within the status, this shows the different levels within the selected workflow. Again, you can have any number of stages. And then when you've selected your search criteria, click Search to return your results. You would then select the scheme that you would like to work on. The columns on this screen are customer defined to your requirements. Now, it's worth mentioning that the purpose of this screen is to approve the apportionment of the cost. The user is not approving the spend, as that has already been done within the finance system. If your company would like, or you would prefer that this system brought all of the costs through as fully approved, that can be done. This screen can then be used to have a final monitoring and make any alterations if required. By default, the system is set out chronologically. This is the way that we recommend to monitor the actual spend, as it is easier to recognise miscodings and then have them recoded to the correct place, maximising income recovery. This also means that when it comes to year end, you only have the final month to do rather than the whole year. If preferred though, you can switch the view to be by expense code. So all costs are first grouped by expense code, and then you drill down into by month. And let's move back to by period. I'll drill into one of the months to show you further functionality. So let's go into May. And as you can see, the first expense code is greyed out. This means that there are no transactions held in this area. So we will move down to grounds maintenance. If you click on the small arrow to the left, that will show you the transactions held within that expense code for that month. If you had a document management system that we'd interfaced with, an icon will be visible here, which you would then be able to select and be taken to the image held for that particular transaction. To edit the apportionment of this cost, click on the edit icon. The top section of this screen details out the transaction value, the apportionment type, which is set as equal split, but we also have custom split, so you can set particular percentages for particular groups. Or we have an amount per property, which is each property receives a particular amount, and then similar splits but with a cap. These apportionment types are set up to your requirements during implementation. You're also able to ignore this transaction by selecting this checkbox. This will mean that the system will still hold the data, but the cost will not be passed on to any of the units. The area down here is where you would recode the transaction or part of it. The best place to recode a transaction though is within your finance system. If you notice something's not quite right within Ensemble, if you request the change to be made within the finance system, the next import will sort out that issue and we recommend that interface with the finance system is run daily, usually overnight. One time that this functionality comes into its own is at year end when your accounts have been closed. You may spot something within the Ensemble system that needs to be dealt with. You are then able to move the costs around to ensure that the statements being sent out to your tenants and leaseholders are accurate. Then when your accounts are reopened, you can sort the issue out there. So you can move either part or whole of the transaction to a different year or a month, or you can even move it to a different scheme or area. This section here is very helpful in apportioning costs to leaseholders, for example. Most companies don't code their costs down to individual units within their finance system. So costs are brought into Ensemble, attributed to the scheme or the group, and they need to be moved over to particular units. This can be done very easily here. I will show you this by moving 50% of this charge over to the leaseholders. It is flipped to saying cyclical maintenance because it will only enable you to move costs to an expense code that has been tagged as being a leaseholder only. So we'll say that yes, this cost is part of cyclical maintenance. We will update that. And then now we have to move to the leaseholders tab because the leaseholder costs are managed on a different workflow. So here are the leasehold properties within this scheme, and we've been unable to allocate it to a particular unit, so we then go into the manage unallocated transactions section, and within here we will find our cost. So it was cyclical maintenance and it was May, and so here is that cost that we have moved across. We select that to apportion it. Now here we have the ability to attribute that cost fairly to all three of these leaseholders, or we can put in a particular percentage, or we can just select a few. So we say that this cost is attributable to these two properties. We will click apportion. So the system apportions out that it's 50% to each property. This is the charge that they would receive. If we haven't got this quite right, we can still move part or all of this cost to another area as we had done before. But if we know that yes, that's accurate, that's right, we can then approve that apportionment. And then we have come back to the allocated transactions section. So if we wanted to go in and sort some of those other transactions out, we could. But we'll close this. And as you see, this screen now has changed in that we have yellow ticks at the end here. Within this approve actual section, there are three different levels of the tick. The status is grey, it means that they are all unapproved. Nothing's been done on that section. Yellow is part approved, and then green is all approved. Your aim is to get all of your ticks being green. If we move back to the shared services tab, I can show you that at any point during this process you can view the account statement as it would be sent out to your customer. The system has been set up to produce a cover page for each property, which is a statement, and then also a set of explanatory notes. It took quite a little while for those to be generated because this demo is working on my laptop, but of course if this was on your server it would be very speedy. And so the system has generated 182 sheets. This first sheet is for this property, which the details would have come through from your finance system if it had been brought through, and every cost that is attributable to that property, including the management charges and also the surplus and deficit. The page 2 is the explanatory notes to do with the reserve fund. So you can have whatever information you require for your customers held within these statements. You can export them to the selected format, and you can also print them. We do have the print app module, which extends the functionality for the printing. If you are interested, please get in touch. That brings this demonstration to an end. Please feel free to view other videos that are available.